All right, we are out here in the MD Labs. I'm Alex from Marketer's Delight, and today we're going to be talking about loops, and we're going to be using our child theme to do some cool coding tricks. So, if you're not interested in coding, don't want to touch anything with it, don't want anything to do with it, you're not going to have too much fun with this video. But if you are interested in coding and maybe you don't have that much of an understanding of certain things that you can do with code, particularly with the WordPress Loop, which is kind of just like the powerhouse of WordPress, then you're going to have a lot of fun in this tutorial. So something pretty cool happened in the MD support forums. Somebody created a topic and they wanted to add the most recent blog posts onto their homepage. Now, their homepage, it's not their blog, it's just a static HTML page, and they wanted to add their blog posts to it. So I replied and I decided, all right, I'm gonna create this for you. I'm going to create a custom function, and it's going to loop through the latest blog posts, and it's going to list them in 3 columns. So side by side in 3 columns. The blog posts, they're going to be in boxes. They're going to have a little featured image at the top. They're going to have the post title below it, and it's going to have a quick excerpt and then a button for the read more link. And then so I created all of that, and I made it into a little template file, and I attached it to the bottom of this post. And I'm happy to say that it helped out the original poster who wanted it, and I was surprised to see that I helped them with a couple of tweaks. I was surprised to see that more people jumping in and saying how it was useful on their own website as well. And somebody was even able to eliminate an entire plugin that they were using to display latest post content, things like that. They were able to eliminate that plugin by just simply working with this little snippet of code and hooking this latest blog posts little module, I guess you can say, right onto their posts. So I thought this was cool. I thought it was really cool how it caught on, and a lot of people found it useful. So I wanted to make this little demonstration video and show you kind of more ways that you can interact with this loop, because we created in this thread a little blog post loop, but you can do way more things with that code. So we're going to go and explore deeper concepts and change how we use this latest blog post. So you'll be able to download all the code that I'm working with at the bottom of this video. So if you're on YouTube watching, you're going to want to click the link in the description to go over to the marketersdelight.net TV page for this episode. And you're also going to need to be a logged in member, an MD customer, essentially, to get this content. So I like to take care of my people, so I want you guys to be able to use the code that I have, and I want to make this demonstration, I want to show it to everybody, but ultimately I only want people who are, my MD customers to get the code. Otherwise, you'll probably just have to sit in front of this tutorial and kind of type the code out yourself, which, hey, it'll be a great experiment, little exercise for you. So with that being said, you'll be able to download the source code from this tutorial on the Marketer's Delight TV page for this. So let's just go ahead and work with this code. I'm moving over to my demo site, and there's nothing to this page. It's just my blog page, really. So I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and when I answered the tutorial, he wanted to add the latest blog post to the bottom of the site, so essentially above the footer. I already have something else here, a page lead that I added, but we're going to add the latest blog post right in between the content box and atop the page lead. So you download that file. It's going to look something like this. Essentially, it's a function. It has it starts a new WPQuery, aka essentially it's a loop, and then it's a whole bunch of HTML, and then we have our add action hook that hooks this entire function to where we want it. So like I said, we're going to put it before the footer. So MD has a hook, MD hook before footer. That's going to add this function to that section. So it's pretty cool that this little chunk of code is inside of a function, because that lets us place it anywhere we want on our site. And we'll have to go into more things like this in future videos, but I'm going to copy this whole function, copy it, and I'm not going to get that PHP tag, so be careful with that thing too. And I'm going to add this into my child themes functions.php file. Now, normally I wouldn't recommend that you place a function like this inside of your functions.php file simply for the sake of organizational purposes. I don't usually, when I'm building out custom sites with child themes, I wouldn't usually put code like this here. So I'll have to do another tutorial, a different video tutorial, just kind of giving you like my philosophy of building child themes if you'd be interested in hearing it. But just for the sake of simplicity in this tutorial, we're just going to throw this little bit of code into our functions.php file in our child theme. So again, we have the latest version of Marketer's Delight running, and then we have our child theme active, both of which you can download from the Marketer's Delight downloads area. So save it, and we'll come and refresh our page. And we can see now that we have a really nice section here that is showing our latest 3 blog posts. So it's pretty cool. That little function that we had, it has everything in it. It's laying out the elements into a nice 3-column. It's spacing out the text, the featured headline even for the section, and the little description text. And all of this data is being pulled from our post, from our database essentially. So that's pretty cool. And it's definitely something that makes you think, because the way WordPress is kind of set up, it's got all these different kinds of pages. You have your blog homepage, and you have your category page that lists all posts in the category. You have all these different tag pages, other kinds of archive pages, things like that. So when you're first going into WordPress development, it's kind of tricky to really understand how the WordPress page hierarchy, because there's all these different labels, all these different types of pages, when really it's not that all these pages are different and they have their own rules, such as the blog homepage is the only page that can list blog posts. Otherwise, you have to do some crazy magical trickery stuff to do that. But that's not the case. What we're working with here is just a bunch of different pages that all essentially have different kind of loops on them. So what we've pretty much done is we've recreated the functionality more or less of the blog homepage and simply confined it into this one section. So this is just our custom loop that's pulling our blog post data, and we can do a lot more things with that. So I'll show you the template file and the blog post side by side. So we'll start at the top of the function. We have a really simple query. We're going to call it the WPQuery class in WordPress. This is something that you're going to want to study, because you can do a lot of powerful things with this. And so pretty much we've put our entire blog post data loop, whatever you want to call it, inside of this variable. And so this simple query variable here, it holds all of our post data essentially. So it has a bunch of parameters like this, and the only thing I've set in here is post per page. So I limited how many posts are going to show to just 3. And pretty much whatever you don't tell WPQuery, it has something that it's going to do by default. So if I didn't tell it that I only wanted 3 posts, it would show a different number. I'm not sure what the default is. It's on the codex page, which I'm also going to link to this video. If I don't tell it what post type to pull from, it's going to pull from WordPress posts. So say I didn't want to show latest blog posts here. I wanted to pull posts from a different post type, whether it's pages, whether it's some custom post type that came into a plugin, anything like that. I can change where this query is pulling the data from, and then once the data is different, it trickles down into the HTML, which I'll show you in a little bit. So for example, if I don't want it to pull posts, I'll do post type, and I have an e-commerce plugin, Easy Digital Downloads. The post type for that, instead of post, is download. So now it's going to, instead of pulling blog posts, it's going to change over and only show content from my downloads post type. So I'll save it, re-upload, and we can see that it's missing images and text like that. But what happened? The change is pretty clear. All of the data has changed over, and now it's linking to posts from my Easy Digital Downloads post type archive. And that's really powerful stuff right here. I mean, right now it's only simple stuff, a button and a headline, but with just a few tweaks in your HTML, you can do something really cool. Create a storefront essentially right all over your website. So we changed the post type data now with just a simple parameter inside of our loop like that. So imagine that there's probably a whole bunch of other parameters we can use to really fine tune the scope of our loop and what kind of data it pulls out. So another good example might be, we'll get rid of the post type. Let's go back to pulling posts out, and say we only wanted to pull post from a certain category. So we're back to posts now. I like to line up my arrows like this, and then we can choose which, we can tell the loop to only pull post from a specific category now. And this is going to be really powerful stuff too. So you would go and get the category ID, which you would go edit the category in your post editor, and then once you're on the edit category screen, look up into the URL bar, and then you'll see something that says cat ID equals, and you're going to get a number. So I wrote down, let's use category ID 6. This is it's already a category that I've added posts to. We need a comma right there so we don't break anything. So we just simply add in the category ID, and now it'll go back to pulling post, but only post from a category. So again, the data, the images are missing. I didn't write in a custom excerpt, and the headlines are pretty long, but this is all stuff that can be fixed. The point is, this loop is only pulling data from a specific category. So whatever it is that you wanted to do with something like that, you can do so very easily by really just changing a parameter inside of your WordPress loop, so you can work with different data around your site, and we can hook it all over the place. So we'll just keep going at it here. Let's put our loop back to normal. So it's just going to be showing what we had before. It's just going to show our 3 latest blog posts all nice and clean. And now let's kind of explore the HTML. So there's tons of stuff that you can play with the loop. Hopefully I give you a couple examples, open your mind up to just some things you can do. So now let's just go over to HTML pretty much. So you'll notice that the only thing we've had to copy into our child theme is the HTML and this query stuff. We didn't have to paste in any CSS, and that's because this section reuses a bunch of helper classes that come with Marketer's Delight. So this whole section will be fully responsive. It'll be formatted based on the same elements that build the default Marketer's Delight. So it's really useful that way. And I'll link you to the styles page, marketersdelight.net/styles, so you can see all the helper classes, most of the helper classes that come in Marketer's Delight. I really need to update that page. There's some cool stuff out there. But pretty much we open up a new HTML section, we add a white background to it with this box class, and then we center it. We center the content to the site width with this inner. And then we have another HTML element in here where we apply spacing and text formatting, and we also center everything. So block triple TB, it adds 3 units of spacing to the top and the bottom of the section. Block single left right adds a single unit of spacing to the edges, just so when we are on mobile that these boxes they have some space on them. So, and we centered as well and added some post formatting just so we can get good looking typography. And then we have our H2, our latest blog post section. You can change that headline to whatever you want. Save it like that. Latest blog post, added the word headline at the end of it, so you can control the HTML of that. Jumping me everywhere. We have our description text, and then this is where our blog post loop begins. So now we're back to this query, and then we're using different WordPress functions to output this data. So we check to see if we have any posts. If we do, let's go ahead and show them. If we don't, then nothing's going to show up. And then we have the columns 3 class. So this is defining, all right, we're creating a columns. We want 3. We want all these columns to be aligned by units of 3. And then we want to add a single unit of spacing in between, just so they're not touching each other. And then this is where the repetition of the loop comes. So everything within the while loop you have right here, everything within the while loop is going to be repeated. So all this stuff is this is like setting the parent container. Everything now inside this while loop is going to be repeated across each post item that we have. So when we're in the loop, we start the repetition, and then we open up another div, a column, and this will create the width of each column. And then in here we start with the post image, and then we use WordPress functions to link a featured image. We set the featured image size to large, and we link it to whatever the permalink of that post is. And then we open up another div so we can get some spacing, create this box effect, and then we link again with the permalink, show the post title, and then we have the excerpt below it, which just shows the preview text right here. And then we have a button, the continue reading, to click here to read more kind of thing. And again, it uses the permalink again. So we've used the permalink 3 times because we really want this section to be clickable. And so that's all the data that we have in there. Again, everything in here is being repeated, so that's why these boxes are structured exactly the same. All right, so we end the loop, and then we want to always reset the post data, just because the loops kind of acts weird if you have multiple loops on the same page. Always have this reset post data function in there. And then we close all our HTML, make sure that our if statements are closed, everything like that. We close the function, and then we can use our add action. So that's a rundown of all the HTML in there. If you have any understanding of HTML, that all made sense to you, and it probably excited you very much, because this is a lot of power. So I encourage you to play around with that snippet with your different post data and stuff. So right now, this function, it's cool, but it's loading all over our website. So if we originally, the original poster of that thread, he only wanted to show this on his front page, and I addressed that in the topic, but let's go over that here. So again, this is on the bottom of every page, every post, everywhere on our site. So how would we reduce that? How would we only show it on, say, the blog post page? There's a couple things we can do for that. There's kind of the lazy way, which is not bad. Let me write this out. So at the top of our function, we can just have a simple if statement here, and we can say if not the blog page, because WordPress has a bunch of conditionals. This is home tag function right here. It targets the blog page. So this function is pretty much, before it even begins, it's saying we only want to load this function on the blog page and then nothing else. So if it's not on the blog page, then we're just going to return this function, and it's going to end, and it's not going to show anything. So I can do it that way. That's kind of like the lazy way to do it. The way I've been preferring lately is I'm going to grab this hook instead. Again, that method definitely comes in handy sometimes, so keep it in mind. But we're going to create another function, and we're going to use the template redirect. So let me write this out. So pretty much we're creating a function, and we're going to place all different hooks in here, hooks that we want to load conditionally. So I'll say that now I only want to open up another if statement. I only want this hook to fire on my home blog page. So we have this function here. Now we just need to hook this function into, I know this is a bit of a lesson in itself right here, but we'll add this function to WordPress. WordPress gives you a hook called template redirect. It pretty much lets you manipulate the template of any page. And then we just add our function name. So we're adding our function to WordPress's template redirect. And this function controls a bunch of add actions and things like that, and it allows us to use these cool conditional tags, so that way we only load, we can choose where we want to fire our hooks and when, things like that. So this is probably the preferred way. It gives you just more control. It's a little bit cleaner, and it's a nice kind of station you can use to just conditionally load hooks around your site. So we would save it just like that. It spelled everything right, and then we'll refresh, and then we'll see that the blog post section is still on the bottom here, but if we go to another post or something like that, it's not going to be there, and that's just as we want it. So that's really useful as well. And again, we're playing with hooks, and Marketer's Delight comes with a bunch of hooks. So if maybe we don't want to have this below our footer or above our footer, let's add it to the top of our site. So we can easily swap out the hooks here. MD has another one. MD hook after header, so we'll put it to the top of our site now, and then we'll refresh it, and then we'll see that this entire section is going to move. You just saw it up there, right? We're here at the bottom, and it's gone, and now it's right up here at the top. So it's really powerful stuff. And of course, it's only on our blog page. We'll go to like our contact page, and we see I have a different content on this page, and that the blog listing is nowhere to be found. So this is just really, really powerful stuff. If you take some time to really kind of dive in and just get even a surface level understanding of what kinds of things you can do with the WordPress Loop, with hooks, and even with the MD helper classes, then you'll really be dangerous in terms of customizing your website the way that you want it to look like. So we've gone on pretty long here. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm trying to kind of up the entertainment value, speak a little bit louder, all these kinds of things. So I really want you guys to learn, and I want you guys to have fun with coding, because these languages, the HTML, CSS, PHP, these are all the true languages that your website is speaking, and the best way to ultimately do what you want to do with your website design is to really dive into this stuff. So I'm going to keep making videos that show you how to do that, and I think it's going to just improve the overall quality of the sites you build for yourself, for your businesses, for your niche sites, for all that stuff, for your clients even. So thanks a lot for watching. Again, you can download the source file if you're a Marketer's Delight customer from the MDTV page for this episode. Just click the link in the YouTube below. I'm also going to link you to a couple of codex pages on WordPress so you can learn more about the loop and other things like that. So go ahead over to that page, download that premium kind of content. Go have fun with your site. If you have any questions, leave a comment anywhere, and I'll do my best to reply to all of you guys. So thank you so much for watching. I'm having a ton of fun with these videos, and I hope you are too. Again, this is Alex from Marketer's Delight, signing off from the MD Labs. I'll talk with you in the next video.